Okay, and we are live. Welcome to a new episode of All Things Xbox Podcast. Once again, I've got Logan with me. Logan, how you doing this week? I think Logan's internet cut out as I was talking. Logan, can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
Okay, Logan's botting in and out. If you could try and jump back in. Discord has had issues today.
Can
Uh, yeah, you're botting in and out, man.
you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah. And he's cut out again. Right, we'll get that sorted in a second. Internet issues, can't really help them. It's been a good week for gaming news. Some stuff dropped today, which we'll talk about in a bit. Busy week in gaming. Bunch of release dates just happened. Some next gen upgrades got announced. It's a good week. Outside of the gaming space, oh my lord, it is boiling here. And if you're listening right now or at a later time, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the show. Uh, British people are melting at the minute because our houses are built to keep heat in. So my house is scorching, and I can't even have a fan on while I do a podcast because otherwise you wouldn't be able to hear me. So it's going to be messy. But other than that, it's been a good week. Logan, can you speak yet? Okay, he's jumping back out to jump back in. But yeah, I've been playing all sorts this past week. When Logan gets in, I'll ask him what he's been playing. Same as usual. You can't help it. It doesn't help that a bunch of internet services, I know in the UK recently, have had a bunch of issues, especially with the storm that's been happening. It's blasting hot 1 minute, and then we have a storm the next day. It's like, make up your bloody mind, please. But I've had an excellent week of gaming. Really, I got back to Doom the Dark Ages last night. That game's so much fun. It really is. I think it might actually be the best Doom game to date, which is saying a lot because, Doom 2016 for me set such a high bar. I didn't think you could really, top it. And I think Doom Eternal, it had smoother gameplay, but the whole platforming element, it was cool and all, but I think I just preferred 16. And I feel like Doom the Dark Ages has enough of Doom 2016 and just enough fresh ideas. You've got the mechs, you've got the laser winged dragon, the way the parrying system works in a game where I typically don't like parrying in video games, and I didn't think it would work in a Doom game, but it works amazing in Doom. Whoever came up with the idea of having parrying in a first person shooter, chef's kiss. Who would have thought it could have turned out that well? id Software, they've been cooking up these games for decades, and there's no stopping them. The game's going to get an expansion. They didn't say when. I'm just going to assume it's going to be later this year or maybe early next year. Either way, Doom fans are eating good. I've also been playing Final Fantasy 16, which is look, I'll be honest. I said this earlier today on Boom Show. I'm going to glaze the living hell out of this game because you can look forward to games for years, and they'll come out, and maybe they'll live up to your expectations. Maybe you can be a little bit disappointed. Sometimes you can hype a game up so much for yourself that it is almost impossible to reach your expectations. It can happen all the time. It can happen all the time. For people jumping into the show right now, YouTube's had a bunch of technical issues. Invites aren't going out, notifications, all that stuff. So just bear with me, trying to push through it. And if there's any audio hiccups on my end, let me know in chat and I'll fix it straight away. Keeps resetting everything for some reason, but all that stuff will get sorted. But back to glazing Final Fantasy 16. Oh my god. Talk about a palate cleanser. I play so many open world RPGs. So many. That's basically my bread and butter. 90% of the video games I play in a year are probably open world RPGs. Western RPGs. And, every so often I need the palate cleanser. Maybe it's a linear first-person shooter such as a Call of Duty campaign, something like that. It's one of the reasons why I've actually been playing Warzone a lot. I find it very refreshing to do multiplayer for a change. Well, this for me is a palate cleanser. It's a linear JRPG, and the most shocking thing for me about this game is there's no grinding at all, which surprised me. I thought with an action-based combat like this, that's very fun, the game would have grinding. There isn't any. I thought it would have a huge open world. Thankfully, it doesn't. There are some open sections, but you can't call it open world. And the game just absolutely excels at what it's trying to do best. Tell a cool story with a cool main character and have excellent combat. And it excels on every level. Like, I put it like this. I think, if you're wanting to get into Final Fantasy, there's a few different jumping in points for newcomers. You can jump in at Final Fantasy 10, 7, basically any main number. But turn-based combat, I've always noticed, it throws some people off. I hope with Expedition 33 being so successful, it's actually going to get more people into turn-based combat. But we'll push that to the side for a second. Final Fantasy XVI's action-based combat is so easy to learn, and it's so much fun. I think this could be the Final Fantasy game for Xbox fans to get into the franchise, because it's easy to learn, it's fun, and every move you make during combat feels purposeful. It feels like a move you're actually going to do, because, look, I'm one of the Final Fantasy 15 defenders out there, right? I'm one of those people. I finished it before they patched everything, especially Chapter 13, which was it was nightmarish for people like me. I felt like I was always button bashing in that game. I felt like my moves weren't purposeful. I was just hitting, moves willy-nilly, so to speak. But in 17, or should I say 16, it's borderline perfect. And I can't say that often about these types of games. People keep calling it Devil May Cry. I think Devil May Cry it's a fun game, but it's just one of those games. It kind of just wrecks my hands. Like, I don't like button bash type games. And for me, that type of combat doesn't usually resonate with me. But Final Fantasy XVI's combat does. I think that if you like Final Fantasy or wanting to get into Final Fantasy, shall I say, this is the game. It really is. I think that if you've never even touched a JRPG before, this is going to be the game to do it. Because, this game came out when? Last week, 2 weeks ago on the Xbox Showcase. It's, 2 weeks old, basically. It's probably going to be one of my favorite games of 2025 on Xbox. So, I'm shocked. I'm really shocked. I think the developers did an excellent job, and I think the studio's called Creative Business Team 3 or something like that. But they've absolutely excelled. They really have. And I think, if you get into this game, and there's even a demo right now, which it gives you a taste of basically all the aspects of the game, some light dialogue stuff, there's on-foot combat, there's the way summons work in this game, which is extremely unique. And I'll say this, it has to be the least frustrating Final Fantasy game I've ever played, because normally you'll reach a boss battle which it just grinds your gears and you're going to have to grind. But that's not the case in this game. You're always getting crafting materials, so you assume that you're going to craft a lot. That's not the case. It's not frustrating in any way. And that's why I'm talking about so much on social media, because I've played so many JRPGs in the past that, they hold your hand 1 minute and then the next minute they throw you to the frickin' wolves, right? They give you way too much exposition. They give you way too much to do. And they want you to level up a lot before you do certain sections. But with it being a linear style game, it all feels purposeful. it all flows so seamlessly. It's like some people might hate the fact I'm describing it like this, but I think it's actually a positive thing. It's kind of designed like a first-person shooter in a way, like a Call of Duty first-person shooter. You go from point A to point B. That's literally it. You go to different areas. You're not really backtracking a lot. Side quests can be finished in seconds because basically once you go collect an item for a side quest, you literally hold one button in and it takes you to the person to finish the quest. It blew my mind. It's such a cool thing to have in a JRPG like this. So yeah, I think that JRPG fans on Xbox, they're very happy at the minute. Final Fantasy fans like myself are extremely happy, and we have the remake of 7 coming later this year. But man, that studio, they absolutely cooks. Now, like I said last week, I have been playing on quality mode, and I've had no issues. And by the way, I don't have a Series S, so I can't talk about that at all. But from what I have seen, it still looks good. You know what? Before I continue, let's see if Logan's here. Okay, I think Logan's still trying to get in. Again, Discord, it's been having issues for like a day or two now. It doesn't help that people have been dealing with storms, and who knows, maybe some heat is it's melted some cables or something. Okay, Logan's resetting his internet. It should be a minute. But yeah, I'm probably going to glaze this game for quite a bit because it's just so good. And the funny thing is, and I say this in chat, Anthony mentioning Crisis Core. Crisis Core is a funny one because that launched on Xbox, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago. And I also glazed the hell out of that game as well. Crisis Core Reunion. It's an action-based game, and every single time I posted about it, I usually had one reply saying, "You know what, Jamie? I don't want to get this because it's a prequel to a game I won't get to play." Well, guess what? Now you will. So, like, every time that game's on sale, I'm going to do my usual thing, tell people about it, because that is a damn good game. So, yeah, Final Fantasy fans on Xbox, we're eating good right now, and there's more to come. And who knows, maybe we'll get, Rebirth early next year. But that's what I've been playing. Also, I've been playing, Warzone as well, but I'm not going to get into that because it's not exactly the most exciting topic. Me getting absolutely destroyed on a weekly basis because I've had my one win, my one solo win, and I'm going back to playing with my squads. That's what you get for not playing a Call of Duty multiplayer game in 13 years. You know what? We'll save the big topics for later on, like we normally would, for when Logan can join. But I want to talk about something quickly, and it's a bit of a rant. So, I was going to save this for later on, but who knows what'll happen. I might as well get it out of the way. So, every single time I'm on social media and I talk about Starfield, maybe I'm posting a clip, maybe I'm recommending it because it's on sale, or maybe I'm just talking about it in general, looking forward to the next expansion. I have noticed this thing that every time I post about an upcoming game that's in the sci-fi genre, or I've posted footage of a other sci-fi game that's out right now, no matter what it is, I get at least one reply saying this is what Starfield should have been. And it absolutely grinds my gears because it's every single sci-fi game. And I've done this very purposefully as well. So during this podcast, you're actually going to see some sci-fi games. One of which is called Everspace 2. It's a game where you play as a starfighter pilot in this RPG. And I recommend this game all the time. It's a super fun action RPG. And every time I've posted footage about this, I get, this is what Starfield should have been. And if you could hear my eyeballs scrape, that wouldn't surprise me. My eyeballs roll to the back of my head every time I say this, right? And I don't know if people realize, so they do it on purpose now. So another game I've been posting about is called Hard Space Shipbreaker. And for people that don't know, you play as a a person that dismantles starships. And you recycle certain components, you trash some components. It's a really fun game. I play Hard Space Shipbreaker all the time. I think it's one of the best games this generation just because of how unique it is. You're floating in this space dock, tearing apart starships. Super cool game. And every time I post footage of this, I get that same reply. This is what Starfield should have been. Do you know what that is? That's normie behavior. They see something sci-fi and they think it's all the bloody same. This is when... I'm going off at the minute, but bear with me. This is when people say Star Trek and Star Wars are the same. Like, what the hell? Why do people think this? It's normie behavior. People need to stop it. As you can see on screen right now, Everspace 2. How can you look at this and think, oh, this is what Starfield should have been? How? How should this have been Starfield? So every time you see me talk about how Starfield gets forced hate, that's what I'm talking about. Every single post I make about Starfield has people literally replying to everyone talking about Starfield, calling the game trash. You can say Starfield is not your cup of tea. Maybe you don't like it. That is 100% fine, right? 100% fine, right? In fact, I'd prefer someone say that to me. But if you replying to me and hundreds of other people just replying mid, this is what Starfield should have been. This is mid, right? That's not a conversation. That's not critiquing a game. You're just being an arse. Let's be honest, right? I try to keep this show and this channel PG, but today let's go off script a little bit because I'm so annoyed and I'm sick of this normie behavior. Stop thinking Star Trek and Star Wars are the same. Stop thinking everything sci-fi should be what Starfield should have been. Starfield is Fallout, it's Elder Scrolls, and a new sci-fi IP. What else should it be? Are you telling me that the straw that broke the camel's back for Bethesda game design just happened to be the new IP that launched on an Xbox exclusively? Like, bit of a weird coincidence, but yeah, I just wanted to put it out there because Starfield, like, it ain't perfect, but I don't think any Bethesda game is perfect. I talk about Fallout all the time. I think Fallout 3 is probably one of my favorite games of all time. Top 10, easy. And I could list you 100 things I don't like about that game. It has floaty gunplay. The third-person camera movement looks like it was designed by a 2-year-old. It's terrible, right? The whole world is green, yellow, and brown, and grey all at the same time, right? But you know what? I absolutely adore that game. Absolutely adore that game. And I could talk about it all day, and I can't wait for the remake, which I'll be talking about later in the show. My point is that whenever I use the term forced hate, that's what I'm talking about, right? So next time you see me on social media posting about a regular sci-fi game, maybe it's out yet, maybe it's gameplay I've got for a podcast or whatever, just look at the replies. You will see this should have been Starfield. This is what Starfield should have been. For instance, last night, I was posting about the Expanse video game. And let me tell you, gamers are pretty, good right now when it comes to that type of game. We have Exodus on the way, and we have the Expanse Osiris Reborn. Right? We are eating. Mass Effect fans are finally eating. Right? It's over a decade since we've had Mass Effect 3. We finally eating now. And I posted a GIF from the Expanse because my high quality GIFs, not gonna lie, they look pretty good. This person replied saying, this is what Starfield should have been. It looks better than Starfield. Stop it. Right? It makes you look like a normie. It makes you sound like a normie. And if it quacks like a duck, it looks like a duck, then it's a bloody effing duck, right? Need to get this little rant out of the way. Now let's see if Logan's in yet. I know he's trying to reset his internet. Yeah, he's still resetting. But he can join whenever. I've still got like 1,000 topics to go through, and I'm probably going to rant again because let's be honest, every single podcast I rant about Ubisoft and Splinter Cell, and I feel it coming on. Not going to lie. But anyway, we'll move on. You know what? We'll get some quick stories out the way. So we'll get the one bad story out the way right now, and that is Microsoft. They face some layoffs. Now it's not 100% official yet, but considering the sources, yeah, it looks pretty official. I'm not gonna lie. There's no way you can spin this. It's negative. The problem with all these companies. I'm an Xbox fan. I'm an Xbox content creator, but like they aren't bloody perfect, right? All of these companies, it's all about the bottom line. It's the bean counters up top, working out how much money they can save, who they can cut, and basically save as much money and get away with it, right? And Microsoft, they have thousands and thousands and thousands of workers, and it doesn't help that you have AI taking certain roles. You have the Activision Blizzard deal finalized this year. So, like, you've got to wonder how many people have the same jobs within Microsoft that they have to cut. Either way you put it, it's annoying. It's sad, and hopefully everyone lands back on their feet. The whole industry's in a weird mess at the minute. I always talk about how I do think the AAA space, at least, is going to crash. If you go onto your Xbox store right now, or Steam or Nintendo or PlayStation, basically any video game store, there's thousands of video games there, like literally thousands, and there's video games released every single day. And I honestly don't know how these studios can stay afloat. Like, how do they actually get recognition and noticed that these games exist? Because like the games I talk about, right? I put out a video every single month highlighting new games, right? But that's sometimes 10, 15, 20 games out of a month when realistically you have hundreds of games launching all the time. And granted, most of them aren't games that people are going to be interested in, but they're still there in the store. Like, there's so many games available to everyone all the time. I can't see how not the studio, but the industry stays afloat. You have these microtransaction heavy games which basically keep Activision up. EA is probably one of the best examples, right? EA Sports, what's it called? FC25. I keep wanting to call it FIFA. But that game prints money just off sales alone. And then when it comes to their microtransactions for Ultimate Team packs, like literally they funded entire games because of the profits made from that video game store, the microtransactions. The reason we got Mirror's Edge Catalyst back in the day is because FIFA prints money. So you're looking at the rest of the industry thinking like, how the hell are they able to stay afloat? Thousands of studios, a lot have been closing down. You have big companies like Embracer shutting down like 10 plus studios, thousands of people laid off. That's going over to like Microsoft. Weirdly enough, I think the only company that doesn't do layoffs is Nintendo, but their games sell like 80 million copies a piece, and I'm guessing their overhead is low because the games probably don't cost as much to make. But either way, the industry's screwed in my opinion. Just putting it out there. But yeah, unfortunately, looks like layoffs are happening. Hopefully Microsoft and all their people land on their feet, because it's not fun. And by the way, if I see anyone else continue to use these layoffs as like console war like fodder, really, is that as low as we stooping now? Like console war fodder and bait because of layoffs? Come on, people need to be better than this. And I don't want to lecture people. Like, if people want to have fun online, fair be it, but not at the expense of people that are losing their jobs. It's a bit crappy. Just putting it out there. Anyway, we'll move on. Oh yeah, we'll talk about this quickly. So, System Shock 2 Remastered looks very good. It's got 4K, 120 FPS, high quality cutscenes, high quality textures. The audio has been completely redone. Night Dive Studios, like, they are one of the best remaster studios in the entire business. Well, it turns out their game's getting delayed, but not by much. So this game was announced about 6 months ago, I think, and it was originally announced to come out late June, but they've said that they're going to delay it up to 3 weeks. I've actually seen a lot of people angry about this. Like, it's just a few weeks, you know. Like, calm down. It's going to be a great game regardless. Like, that team, and I admit I do port beg to them. I do want them to bring back the Chronicles of Riddick video games. They're one of the best remaster studios in the business. If they need an extra few weeks to get a game out working well, who cares? You know, is anyone really going to be upset by an extra few weeks? And if they are, I don't know what to say. But either way, you know, that studio, they put out a lot of good remasters over the past couple of years. If people haven't played it, Star Wars Dark Forces is probably the best example. They actually went in with that game. And for people that don't know, Star Wars Dark Forces is a 1990s Doom-style Star Wars game. And they went in and replaced all of the sprites, all of the 2D sprites, with 3D rendered models. Which they didn't have to do that, but they did. They redid the cutscenes, they redid the audio, and if anything, it's probably the best Star Wars remaster on Xbox, or on anything at the minute, really. But hey, show the studio some love. They're great developers. In fact, they've fully remastered and fixed The Thing, which was from the original Xbox. So they clearly know what they're doing. They're a passionate studio. What's an extra 3 weeks? You know. Let's see what we've got next. Okay, Logan's going to continue to keep joining. Again, internet problems. You know what? We'll talk about this because I feel another rant coming on. So, Rocksteady Studios. In my opinion, they are one of the best in the industry. They are... Like they completely redefined what superhero combat should be like in an open world. Like, you can't play Arkham Knight, Arkham City, Arkham Origins, any of those games, and not have fun. And, you know, they got pushed onto doing live service stuff because, you know, basically Fortnite came out in 2017, Fortnite Battle Royale, and half the industry shifted. They were like, hey, we need to chase this in these brand new shiny battle passes, right? And that's what that game was originally going to have. It was originally going to have even more Suicide Squad. Have even more, you know, battle pass and on live service type stuff. Well, anyway, it came out yesterday on the 10th anniversary of Batman Arkham Knight. By the way, can you believe that's been 10 years? 10 years since Batman Arkham Knight. We're getting old. But Rocksteady, you know, they posted saying, you know, 10th anniversary, play the game, blah, blah, blah. A bunch of concept art and leaked screenshots happened for another game that was in development over at Rocksteady that was basically going to be called Batman Beyond Arkham. Now, I've talked about this on the show before, and let me tell you, I might cry myself to sleep at night. Like, the fact that we almost had a Beyond game, Batman Beyond, set in the Arkham universe, man, the gaming industry's cooks. We deserve that game. And from what I saw, it looked fantastic. So yeah, that's another cancelled game in a sea of endless cancelled games, which we'll never get. Now, the good news is that Rocksteady, they are on making a brand new single-player Batman game. If that's what they're going to stick to, let them be. Do not put any live service crap or any of that stuff in a Batman game. No one will buy it. Nobody wants it. And we saw what happened with Suicide Squad. And, you know, Suicide Squad does actually have a few good things going for it. Its graphics, amazing. Big open world, looks great. Fun-based gameplay, but I think the second you start putting live service elements in a single-player game, it kind of falls apart. But hey, just to think, like, how many Batman games or other DC games could we have had if it wasn't for Suicide Squad and Warner Brothers wanting to chase, you know, the almighty Battle Pass situation? I guess we'll never know. I can say this, and I'm pretty sure it's public, like, we were originally going to get a Superman game at one point, multiple times actually. You know, we were originally going to get a sequel to Batman Arkham Origins. And I think back in the day, it was referred to as Batman Arkham Insurgency and never saw the light of day. And we just keep getting co-op in live service games. I've had enough, you know. Hopefully, with all the shake-ups that's been happening over at, Warner Brothers.
Hey, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Logan, it's completely fine. The internet craps the bed all the time. How have you been and what have you been playing?
Well, I've actually been on cloud nine. My Thunder won their first ever title, so I'm very very excited and not a lot of sleep lately. A lot of celebrations in downtown, and they had the parade today, which was huge.
Oh, nice.
And um, but as far as like games and stuff, I've wrapping up Expedition 33. I think around level 85 for my main characters, and I'm currently in this basically I'm gearing up to fight one of the mega alternate bosses that you can play in the third act if you want to. And she's really really tough. So I'm having to level up for. And yeah, so life is good here. So you're talking Warner Brothers?
Yeah, Warner Brothers have a weekly habit of just pissing me off, basically. So
Oh yeah, get in line. I mean,
yeah,
they're awful.
yeah. So the Batman Beyond Arkham game basically had a bunch of leaked screenshots and concept art, and that's just another cancelled game we're never gonna get, basically.
That would have been so cool.
Yeah. I mean, considering how Batman Arkham Knight ends, and for people that do all of the Riddler trophies in Arkham Knight, you basically get the extended ending. It was kind of pointing towards Bruce Wayne getting out of you know the superhero suit, the bat suit, and moving on to other things. Turns out that's not the case, but who knows? I mean, apparently they are working on a single player Batman game. Where do you go from where they went last time? Are they still going to do another Beyond game? We just don't know. But I think it's good to know at least that they won't be doing any more live service games.
Thank the maker.
Yeah, I mean, look, Logan, you also bought Suicide Squad when it was like $5 as well, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Like if a game is a spectacular flop, but I have some passing interest in it, I'll pick it up if it's dirt cheap. Like heck, that horrendous King Kong game was like $3 or something the other day.
I was gonna buy that. Oh God.
I mean, it and Gollum make Mind's Eye, look like it belongs in the Louvre. But
Wow.
but
I have seen a lot of people over the past week because the huge sale just ended. For people that don't know, that Gollum game, I've heard a lot of bad things about it. Like people were telling me, like that game isn't even worth like $1.
it's pretty bad.
Ouch. But yeah, that's Warner Brothers, and hopefully we'll see. Like honestly, I'm getting a bit impatient. I know these games take a long time to make, but realistically, we aren't really going to see that Arkham game in action for another 3 to 4 years. Ouch. Like, like time's getting on. You know what? We'll move on. Oh, Logan, I know you want to talk about this quickly. The System Shock thing.
The PC version is on schedule. Go ahead, and it will be releasing, as scheduled this coming week. But the console version got pushed out into like I think second week of July now, which isn't a terrible delay, but still for those who are looking forward to it, it's a bit of a bummer. But I trust Night Dive; they always deliver, so no worries. Just a bummer. It's a little later.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this: I've never played a Night Dive product that's been bad. So, I have confidence in them. But what's just an extra few weeks? You know what? I'll talk about this quickly because I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show. So, Warhammer 40k Space Marine Remaster got announced basically out of nowhere. To the point where a lot of people didn't actually believe me that it was real. But it's out. It's in Game Pass, which is nice. I finally got to play it now with the huge backlog of games that's out. It's so hard to keep up with everything. I want to get to the altars, but I've got like 10 games going on at the minute. Anyway, so a Space Marine. I did actually play the opening section because I did play it last year on 360, and I'm happy to report that team did a bloody good job with that remaster. I'm not entirely which studio made it, but man, Sega and Relic back in the day, they cooked something really good with that game. It's basically Gears of War, but without cover combat. It's hard to explain. I mean, if you played the sequel, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's great. High resolution textures, which is nice. The game is 4K. It's 60 FPS. It is butter smooth. But the weird thing is that the description for the game doesn't actually say 60 FPS anywhere. But when you play, it's definitely 60 FPS. yeah. Space Marine is what Starfield should have been. My God, I'm never going to live that down now. But yeah, Logan, I'm guessing you never got to play a Space Marine remaster, yeah?
No, I've like I said, I'm fully committed to finishing Expedition 33, it's almost done. My watch is almost ended for the ones who come after.
Nice. You know what? We'll move on. Minecraft. Now, the fabled Minecraft next gen update finally happened. Weird thing is,
it exists.
Yeah, it actually exists. Microsoft dropped it at like 2 in the morning or something. Thankfully, Minecraft is only like a gigabyte. So I downloaded it and tried it out. And you know what? It looks pretty good. Now, it doesn't look like the path tracing stuff you see on PC. We aren't that lucky. Maybe next gen. But if you've been sick of, how Minecraft's looked since, I don't even know when it originally came out, like 2009 or 10. It looks really good, I'm not going to lie. The water looks good. The sun looks good. It's 4K. You can actually run the thing at 60 FPS, which is great. So if you've been wanting to play shiny Minecraft, and by the way, I've noticed this thing. I don't know if you've seen this as well, Logan, that on Twitter, one of the things I do outside of recommending games is post game news and screenshots and trailers. And like if a game got a new update and I've got it installed, I'll go on my Xbox and I'll get some footage quickly to post about it. I did that with Minecraft. And I had some angry replies about Minecraft saying, this is what we should have got 5 years ago. I'm the messenger that's being shot on a daily basis. Like, I don't know what it is.
They dropped the ball on it. I don't know what was going on, but it wasn't your fault.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The Minecraft thing should have been here like 5 years ago. But people need to stop shooting the messenger. I'm just posting news. Right? Now, when it comes to my opinions, that's very clear. I've said many times, this should have been one of the things they launched with. Hell, that's one of the things they showed the console off with the Digital Foundry and Austin Evans, right? Like, stop shooting me for showing crap, right? Next time I'm going to show a trailer, someone's going to complain, right? I'm fed up, and if I sound a bit annoyed today, it's because I can't have the fan on while I'm talking to a microphone. So I'm literally melting here. I'm melting and I'm being shot because I'm the bloody messenger. But yeah, Minecraft. Now, I used to play a lot of Minecraft back in the day. Shocker. I found that thing really addictive. I used to basically just find a hill and try and empty it out. Looking back, I've wasted so many hours. Not even looking for diamonds, just trying to hollow out a pretty mountain. But yeah, Minecraft, it's a fun game. A lot of people still play it. Obviously, I mean that game sold over 110 million copies or something stupid like that. But hey, next gen updates out there. You can actually mess around with the settings like shadow detail, texture detail, all that stuff. In fact, if you turn everything up, the frame rate does tank, but it is trying to push a lot of pixels, doing a lot of stuff. It is what it is. But on its base default setting for the next gen upgrade, it actually does look pretty good. Logan, I'm guessing you don't play much Minecraft.
That would be correct. The last time I played that, I think, was during a decade ago. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think Minecraft's in one of those like it's a weird game because most people that play it, most people, not all, they're either kids or the people that sort of spent a lot of time with Minecraft in their like teens and early 20s. It's hard to describe, but yeah, Minecraft, it's still a big game, don't get me wrong. I actually tried to, because I love Lord of the Rings, I once actually tried to make the battle for, not the battle, but Helm's Deep. And I spent
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, oh no, it sounds awesome, but in reality, it was terrible. Because Helm's Deep is bloody massive, right? And I wasn't playing in creative mode. So I had to build little ramps and like stairs to like try and build this wall. And after like 4 hours, I remember thinking, oh, I just can't. Like I built one tiny section of this wall from Helm's Deep. But yeah, when I see videos out there of someone building a huge castle or, the Starship Enterprise, I'm like, that's really cool. I'll never be able to do it because I'm a bit lazy. But still, Minecraft, cool. Next gen upgrade, why not? We'll move on. Right, this is actually going to happen kind of soon. So THQ Nordic announced that they're going to finally have their own showcase in August 1st, I believe, showing new games as well as updates on games we already know about. Now, I've complained about Embracer a million times. So this isn't going to be a section of me whining about Embracer. Who knows, it might. You know what I'm like. I am actually really looking forward to this because they have some really cool games in the works. So they have a unannounced South Park game in the works. They have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles AAA action game in the works called The Last Ronin. That should be good, and that's meant to be mature as well. They still have the Gothic remake to release. So, like, I think THQ are pretty much one of the most interesting parts of Embracer at the minute, considering we actually know what they're doing. I'm actually looking forward to this. Maybe we could actually see Kingdoms of Amalur 2. I'm grasping for straws here when it comes to Embracer. But Logan, are you looking forward to this? What would you like to see?
I'm looking forward to it. They make a lot of fun, AA titles, and Kingdoms of Amalur was amazing. I'd love a sequel for that. They obviously own the rights to Time Splitters, so if they did something with that IP, I'd be incredibly excited. A new Red faction would be fun. I'm just going in with an open mind because I do like the stuff they make most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, like I would love to see a new Time Splitters game. I mean, there were rumors a couple of years ago that they were making a new Time Splitters, but I feel like it's been 6 years, and I can't imagine it would take that long to make a Time Splitters game. What a 4v4 arena based shooter? Like, don't get me wrong, I'd like to play it, but I just can't see it happening. Kingdoms of Amalur. I think the weird thing about THQ Nordic is that even though we know Embracer owns like 60 studios, we still really don't know what 90% of them are working on, which is kind of a shame. And it doesn't help that they've laid off like 8,000 developers. I'm cautiously optimistic. I really am. I mean, that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game is probably the biggest game they're working on at the minute that we know about. But I would absolutely love to play a mature, Ninja Turtles game. Because for people that don't know, the Ninja Turtles were originally like a violent IP, right? Originally in the comics, they all had red bandanas, and it was pretty gory. And then it was changed into a children's cartoon in the 90s, and we all know what happened from there. But hey, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure it'll be good. And yeah, that's August 1st, and I think if I remember correctly, I think that's going to be 5 p.m. Eastern. We'll talk about it next week when we know more. But yeah, THQ Nordic, it should be fun. You know what? Let's talk about this quickly because I burst out laughing today, and people are coming up with all kinds of theories, and I've been laughing. So it came out today that Microsoft have this partnership with MetaQuest, owned by Facebook or Meta. They keep changing everything. I don't like it. Go back to calling it Oculus and Facebook. Done. But they have this new partnership with MetaQuest to have this Xbox branded MetaQuest headset. By the way, that's a horrible name for a VR headset. MetaQuest. That's the best you can come up with. We have Ready Player One out there in the wild, and you can come up with MetaQuest. Anyway, and this Xbox branded headset, it comes with an Xbox controller, and it comes with the Oculus controllers with the green branding. Pretty cool. And I've seen a lot of people today try and come up with these theories about what's going to happen. Is this like a next-gen Xbox thing? Is it going to connect to your Xbox? And maybe this is me. Maybe I had like a nightmare or something, or maybe I've just been taking crazy pills. Xbox has had this relationship with Facebook for years, and I don't know why people have forgotten about it. I think Phil Spencer was on the MetaQuest stage, or back then Oculus stage, like 6 or 7 years ago, where they decided to pack in an Xbox One controller with the headset, so you could play regular console games, and you were able to play Game Pass games via streaming to your headset. And now it's the same deal, but your controller has green accents, and it's a branded headset. I don't really understand why people are acting like this is a new thing. Logan, what's your take? Because I've seen a lot of wild theories today. Like, it's cool, don't get me wrong. Like, I actually like the green Xbox branding of stuff. I like green. But, like, it's nothing new, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, basically it's just a new coat of shiny paint on it. That's essentially what it is. Because, as you said, years ago they had already partnered with Meta to make to Game Pass accessibility onto the headsets and to be able to use a controller and operate it as like a third party VR device for certain types of things. So that was already in the bag and done ages ago. This is just a more officially official type partnership to where it's got branding and badging and everything, and it's part of their this is an Xbox type campaign where they're just trying to get everything into the consciousness. So that's what my read on it is that basically they're rehyping an old campaign and connecting it to this new campaign with a new look. That's basically it from my understanding.
Yeah, I mean, call me biased, but I can't do VR. I just can't. Um,
I can't either.
it's like I do suffer from like the inner ear, motion sickness thing. Like if I'm on a bus or a train for more than 5 minutes, I'm needing to go to the toilets and maybe hurl a little bit, right? Right. So like these headsets aren't really made for me. I did actually try. I did play some of Resident Evil 7 on one of my friends' VR headsets a couple of years ago, and again, it was like been on the dip of a roller coaster. I wanted to hurl my guts up. So not for me. If people like that stuff, cool. But I still think VR. It's never going to be mainstream until you can have like a pair of like Ray-Bans or something. Like if it's a big headset where you've got a cord, or even not even a cord, even if it's wireless, like people don't want to wear those things for hours on end. Like when I played Resident Evil at a friend's house, like my eyeballs and my forehead were sweating in this headset. And like maybe new ones have active cooling or something. Maybe they do. I wouldn't know. I just can't see VR taking off. And the problem with VR is, Half-Life Alyx, right? I'll put this out there. If I could somehow play Half-Life Alyx on a VR headset, I would give that a go. I'll have a bucket nearby because I'd need it. But Half-Life Alyx looks freaking amazing. And it's Half-Life. How can you go wrong with that? But like when it comes to VR, I can't see it taking off. Like people are consistently trying to get this like VR to be popular. You have some companies like making headsets that cost thousands of dollars. If I remember correctly, it's called the Pimax headset. It's like $8,000 or something. It's got like 12K screens or something, and it's super expensive. And the problem with VR is that it's like a weird circle of life for the game, or for VR, where you have not enough AAA games on the platforms, so people aren't buying the headsets, and you don't have enough AAA games being made because not enough people own the headsets. So it's this endless cycle, and I can't see it breaking. And one of my friends that I play Call of Duty with, he's bought multiple headsets and he's sold them straight away because he had the best point ever. Never really thought about it. He said nearly all VR games feel like tech demos, and they either you fire an arrow, picking something up, or shooting a gun. And he's 100% right. That's all these games are. You pick something up, you move your hands like remember how you would move items in LA Noire? Like, that's what it looks like when people use VR and they pick up items. It looks so weird, and that's not how people move in real life, but it is what it is. I just can't see VR taking off. But hey, if Microsoft want to partner with Oculus, Valve, whatever they want to call themselves this week, so be it. And if Microsoft want to send me a review unit to play Half-Life Alyx, feel free. I'll put it out there. Who knows? Maybe I'll record a video of myself throwing up. I mean, that'll be entertaining for everyone, other than me. But VR, not for me. The Xbox branding around the buttons is pretty cool because, again, I like the green thing. But, we'll move on. You know what? We'll talk about this quickly because this happened literally just before the show went live. So, Little Nightmares 3 has been announced for multiples of years now. And for people that haven't played them, they are kind of 3D side-scrolling horror games. The first game, I believe, was Games with Gold years ago, so check to see if you own it. Super cool game. And, the sequel was really cool as well. The third game finally got its release date today, and it comes out on October 10th. But they also announced that Little Nightmares Enhanced Edition, which is a full-on remaster of the previous first game, and it's going to have your enhanced lighting, textures, all that stuff, 4K 60, all the bells and whistles, which also launches on October 10th. So, pretty cool news. Logan, I assume you have played Little Nightmares?
I haven't played Little Nightmares yet, but it is something I have interest in.
Yeah, it looks super cool, and that's coming out October 10th, both games. Another next-gen enhancement news, which I want to talk about, because the developers didn't actually do this properly. So, Dying Light, which launched in, I think it was 2015, arguably one of the best zombie games ever made. It kind of got a next-gen upgrade in 2022, with it being I think it's 4K or 60, again, that's a lot of work considering it was just a quick update. And basically, they put out they put out this like sheet today, this blog post talking about them enhancing the game. And it sounded like they were remastering their own game or giving it a huge upgrade. Turns out that's not the case. I don't know if they used Google Translate or something, but basically the developers did a half-assed job at announcing what they actually did. So they've gone through the first game and they've gave the first game from 2014 enhanced textures. So a lot of walls, a lot of rocks and stuff. If you go back and play, some textures like have Game Boy textures, like super low poly, low resolution textures. They've gone in, they've completely reworked it. They're going to go public over the next few days over what's basically what version's going to be for each console. I love the developer. I think Techland, they are amazing. They make amazing games, but they aren't the most transparent or easiest to talk to when it comes to their updates. Again, it could be a language barrier, but I'm sure they must have someone on the dev team that can translate properly because the way they announced it was kind of bad. But either way, more Dying Light is always a good thing. The spin-off, The Beast, comes out in August. So, hey, there's plenty of Dying Light going on for a lot of people. They're still putting updates for Dying Light 2. So, outside of their weird messaging in their blog posts, they're a hell of a good developer. Logan, do you think he'll go through, Dying Light 1 again, or you're not that bothered?
I like Dying Light. I might check it out again. I really enjoyed it, and I remember it came out during kind of a real dry period.
Yep.
PS4 and Xbox One gen, and it was kind of like this cult classic. Like it had some issues, but there was some really good meat on the bone there, and it felt like there was something under the surface once you dug into it. And playing through it, I loved the parkour. I loved the Easter eggs, all the modes you could do, the upgrades. So yeah, I'll be checking out. I'll revisit the first one, and I'm looking forward to the Beast.
Yeah. This is going to be good. But yeah, Dying Light, for people that are curious, I will post the full list of details when it goes live. But again, the developer, if you're going to enhance a game and it's going to be a free patch, which is great, I 100% appreciate it. Maybe be a bit more crystal clear because the amount of people in the replies that thought they were getting a remaster, that's not the case. We could blame gamers, but I will blame the developer on this time because, again, it was wrought pretty badly. Anyway, you know what? Logan, did you happen to see a trailer for a game called Blood Message?
I saw your post about it the other day, and it looked interesting.
Right, so for people that don't know, there's a game completely announced out of nowhere called Blood Message. It's made by Chinese studio 24 Entertainment. They made the Naraka Blade Point games, or Blade Point game, which is also on Xbox. Anyway, they've shifted to making single-player games. And this is the studio's very first AAA single-player game. And the trailer launched on their new YouTube channel, I want to say 4 or 5 days ago. And the trailer's already got 2 million views. It's possibly one of the best-looking games I've ever seen in my entire life. Single-player, narrative-driven, action-adventure game. It basically looks like the developer took what makes Assassin's Creed cool and basically make an Uncharted-style game, but set in, ancient China. I'm all for it. Like, I don't know what's in the water in China, but Chinese developers are cooking. I don't know what it is, but we always seeing these really cool games coming out of China, and like South Korea, their games are popping off. So for people that are just genuinely curious after the show, just type in Blood Message trailer on YouTube. Absolutely mind blowing. Now, they didn't say a release date at all. I did go to the official website. Nothing at all. They did say it's coming to PC and consoles. So I'm optimistic. Hopefully it comes to Xbox and not, hopefully it doesn't come to Xbox exactly 1 year after Elsewhere. because, it happens sometimes. But yeah, Blood Message looks super cool. Right, you know what? Let's talk about the Death Stranding 2 thing now, because we still have a bunch of big topics to talk about, and this one's funny. But before we get into the big topics, we've been live for about an hour. If you're enjoying it, please like, share, and subscribe. I hate doing these little ads, but it does help with the algorithm. And surprisingly, the likes, they do help with the algorithm. It does help push it to, notify people that we are live. Even people that are subscribed don't get notified all the time because of the way the algorithm works. So it's greatly appreciated. Super chats are live if you want to support the channel. It helps the channel grow and helps me invest more into the channel. All that stuff. Anyway, so Death Stranding 2. Now, before we get into Death Stranding 2, because I do not give a flying crap about Metacritic scores. I really don't. Mass Effect is my favorite game of all time. I didn't know what its Metascore was up until about 4 years ago. I don't care. It's in the high 90s, but the way people talk about that first game, you'd think it was a 2. Right? That first game, the Xbox 360 version, it has aged. But I will defend that game with my life. So, I really don't care about Metacritic scores. And there's this want not, have not mentality in video games, I've noticed. And, for people that don't know, Death Stranding was exclusive to PlayStation for 5 years. It got shadow dropped out of nowhere in, I think it was November last year, November 2024. And it plays amazing. It looks amazing. And that didn't really know anything about Death Stranding, never even said anything bad about the game, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this game a chance because, 1, I can get it for free, and 2, why not? So I gave the game a chance, and do you know what happened? I bloody loved it. It's such a weird game. It's a weird game. It's Kojima weird. I'm a Metal Gear Solid fan, so I know I'm going to experience weird. And, with this game, it's weird. You're walking around with a baby strapped to your chest in a tank of water. You're attacking and getting attacked by these octopus things in oil slicks, right? There's buildings coming out of the ground. You have oil giants chasing you. You have flying whales. None of it makes sense, but that's why it works. And people have called it a FedEx simulator. And I have found it funny that people called the sequel DoorDash 2. And
that's a good one. I like that one.
DoorDash 2 is good. And the thing is, you do spend a lot of time walking in those games. You spend a lot of time going from point A to point B, delivering stuff, turning people's internet back on, so to speak. And you know what? I don't care. I put 42 hours into that game, and I absolutely loved it. It's such a freaky story, but some of the most emotional story you'll ever see in a video game. Beautiful soundtrack, beautiful game in general. Whoever did the Xbox ports of that game, chef's kiss. Turns out they might actually be the best console versions, but again, they had more time to make those games for it. And every time I talk about the game, I'm extremely positive. And I've been saying, look, whenever Death Stranding 2 comes to Xbox, I'll be there day one. Simple as. And, people get really angry at me in the comments. And, today people said that I only played Death Stranding just to say I played it. Let me tell you, I do not have the attention span to do that. I'm not going to put 42 hours into a game just to say I've played it. It ain't happening. Not on my watch. But I bloody love the game. And I recommend the game, especially when it's on sale, because people can get a really good deal. 50% off. It was £17, I think 47p. So anyway, the sequel comes out today. And all of a sudden, people are interested in Death Stranding 2 because of a Metacritic score. Now, everything I'm about to talk about has nothing to do with Death Stranding 2 story, gameplay, what it is in general. It's people's reaction to the score. You have people like Colin Moriarty and other, people in the industry. They are trying their absolute best to try and figure out if this can never go to Xbox or not. And it's blown my mind because a week ago, people weren't doing this research. Why weren't people doing this research a week ago? Why weren't they doing this yesterday? It's because across the board, Death Stranding 2 has had some bloody good reviews. And because of this, we get this every single time with a high scored Metacritic game that's exclusive to one platform. It's coping and it's season and it's people just being toxic for no bloody reason. Like, who cares, right? You weren't interested in Death Stranding yesterday. You shouldn't be today, right? That's just the facts, right? You weren't looking for reasons to see if it would be exclusive to PlayStation Forever yesterday, so why are you looking for it today? It's because of a bloody Metacritic score, right? And I'm seeing it today. I'll read out this reply on Twitter. It's amazing, by the way. Jez Corden posted it. It's incredible. So this person replied to Hideo Kojima. This person actually replied to Hideo Kojima this. Don't launch Death Stranding 2 on Xbox. They don't deserve it. PlayStation give you all the resources to create your amazing game. From the Decima engine to the publishing. Xbox owners don't buy games. How many copies did Death Stranding 1 sold on Xbox? 5K? You have to appreciate the value Sony gives you. Now, I'm going to put this out there. I think that dude's a virgin. Just putting it out there. Like maidenless vibes. Maybe he needs to touch grace. As you can tell, I'm trying to censor myself. Because that is the lamest thing I've ever read in my entire life. Like, really? Really. And by the way, for people that don't know, Death Stranding 1 on Xbox, it sold incredibly well. It was number 1 on the Xbox Store in the UK, Germany, Spain, France, Australia. I believe it was in Canada and the US as well. It probably sold a couple of million. And for people that don't know, the Xbox Store goes off revenue, not copies sold. So this £17 game was making more money than FIFA the week it launched. I know people like to run with the rhetoric that, Xbox guys don't buy games, but come on. It has to get to a point where you have to stop running with this BS. It's boring. It really is, right? Death Stranding is a success in general. It was an even bigger success when it launched on PC, and even more so when it launched on Xbox. And guess what? It's probably going to launch on the Switch too in the next couple of months, right? And it's going to sell really well there as well. And it's probably going to look really good and perform good. Hell, you can play Death Stranding on a mobile phone. I don't know why you'd want to, but you can. And like the amount of salt I've seen today, and people just angry. It's like, play your bloody game. Like, who cares? Like, Logan, what's your take? Because I know you really like Death Stranding. Like, you even have the collector's edition. Like, the way people are acting today, just because they saw a Metacritic score all of a sudden, it's a bit outlandish.
Yeah, you can definitely say that. That'd be the nicest way to put it. It's like I don't know. It's like as soon as they see a certain number threshold hit, no matter what the game is, they suddenly get interested in it. And I mean, it's like the opposite of sticker shock. Like when you're like, "Oh, how much does this thing cost?" And you're like, "Good gosh!" And when you look at it, and you're like, "All right, I'm not buying that." It's like the opposite of that. Like for these people, to where it's like they see this and it's like, "I must have it," even if it's not something that they had traditional interest in. Right or wrong, that is a thing I have seen a lot. And it's just funny in particular about this one that suddenly they're so daggum concerned if it's going to be exclusive or not, or for how long or not, instead of going, well, it sounds like people are positively reacting to, the second game in the series, and it's more Kojima stuff, and if you like the first one, sounds like you're gonna like the second one. So yay! It's a weird spin. What? But it's to be expected from these certain avenues.
Yeah, the thing is, like we all say that the industry is like really weird, right? game studios are falling apart. The price of the cost of these games is what, like, when you hear that The Witcher 4 is costing like $400 million, and it has to be like an instant success, instant mega success out of the gate. That gives me like, that gives me some worries about the industry, right? And then you have like games going across to different platforms, which I don't really think is the biggest deal. You have third party games coming to Xbox, right? By the way, for people that don't know, last week Final Fantasy 16 was apparently sold at 22,000 copies on Xbox, right? And people figured out this number basing it off the amount of reviews on the Xbox store in the US, right? So
Yeah, it's not how that even works.
yeah, that's not how it works. Like, I mentioned this to people online. Like, I've been buying digital games on Xbox for 20 years, and I've left maybe 4 or 5 reviews. Like, I just don't leave reviews. Like, I don't. I this year I think I've left one, but I think I can go like a decade without doing any reviews, because that's just not what I do on Xbox Live. And for people to use that, it's stupid. In fact, do you know what the highest rated game on Xbox is in the UK, at least? It's oh my god, the city building game. I forgot what it's called. City Skylines.
Even Colony or City Skylines?
Yeah, City Skylines, the Xbox One version, is the highest rated game on Xbox, right? Does that mean it's the highest sold? No, because Sim fans were really loving that game, so they talked how good the port was, right? Equating sales to review scores was the dumbest thing ever, right? Now, we can talk about Death Stranding's success on Xbox based off it being number one on the store, especially when FIFA was on sale at the time. I keep calling it FIFA, but it's EA Sports FC 25. They need a shorter name, really, EA. But like Death Stranding, it's had some success. Kojima bought the IP, and I've seen a lot of people in the game industry space today specifically, they're looking through old documents to see if Sony owns the full publishing rights to the game, the sequel. And it's all over a bloody Metacritic score. And like, this is one of the things I always talk about, right? Metacritic scores are nice if you're a developer, right? And maybe Obsidian back in the day, and that's when you get or you don't get your bonus based on a Metacritic score. As a fan, as a gamer, you shouldn't bloody care about this crap. And it's one of the things why I would love it if review scores actually went away, because people don't read reviews anymore. They go to IGN and they scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page where there's a number. They don't read paragraphs of writing. They just look at a number and then they run with it. And then you have some people that they'll go to GameStop or GameSpot and see like a 5 out of 10 and run with it. But other places could give this specific game a 9 out of 10, right? Running with review scores is the dumbest thing gamers have came up with. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. And I know Metacritic scores, an aggregate score and all that, but come on. So next time you're on social media, scroll down your feed, and if you see anyone talk about Death Stranding 2 you've never seen talk about before, are they interested in the game because it's good all of a sudden, because it's got a high score? And how many people are you seeing defending it being exclusive and wanting it to be, right? It's crazy. It's bloody crazy. Like, the other day, I said I will buy this game when it comes to Xbox, and I had a bunch of angry replies. Like, why the hell are you angry for, right? Yet these people were playing the Gears of War Reloaded beta, playing this 20-year-old game, thinking it's fine. But I'm the bad guy. Shoot the messenger, so to speak. But yeah, the Death Stranding situation's a bit weird. Now, when will it come to Xbox? You see in the title, Death Stranding 2 Xbox, ? I do think it will come to Xbox next year. 505 published the first game, but Sony published the first game. So, like, I think people looking at all the documents and that, they really like saying it out loud. Like they want this game to permanently be exclusive to PlayStation just because of a pretty score with, green around it, right? High Metacritic score. It's idiotic. It's stupid. We have to move on from it. And now, I do think it'll come to Xbox next year. I hope it comes to Xbox next year, and I'll be buying it day one, because you know what? It looks weird AF, and I like weird AF. Logan, do you think it'll come out next year?
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would say next year. Like, if there was any exclusivity thing, I doubt it would be a 5 year long wait like it was for the original one. Especially since Kojima has the rights to it now, but Sony did help with, part of stuff. So I can see a year, but I don't think it'd be much longer than that.
Yeah. And there is a Death Stranding movie in the works. Like Kojima wants a lot of people to play Death Stranding. It wouldn't make any
From
sense what.
A24.
Yeah, A24. Like that game's going to be art house as hell, but it's going to be good. I will say this about the film though. I wish A24 would get the exact same cast back. Like,
Oh, that'd be great. I mean, Norman has been in films and TV, obviously, so.
yeah, I mean, for people who haven't played, like wild performances, but I mean, who knows what we'll see from them? But they want that to be a global IP and be available to everyone. I can't see a reality where, hey, we put the first game on PC and Xbox, iPhones, iPads, even iMac, and then it's eventually going to be on Switch. Like, but by the way, the sequel's only ever going to be on PlayStation. That doesn't make any sense. In fact, if you're Kojima, that literally doesn't make any sense for you financially. Are you telling me that Sony's just paying upfront for the amount of copies you'd have gotten from other platforms? I find that extremely hard to believe. We live in this weird time where you have people port begging every single Xbox game under the sun, and every single time there's a game going to PlayStation, the second you remotely mention it coming to Xbox, people get up in arms. People get really defensive about it. It's like, why are people so defensive about this stuff? Right? It's stupid. But hey, like I said, the sequel looks great. In fact, it looks like they've corrected the few things I had problems with the first game, which is really cool. But hey, I guess we'll find out next year. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people online at the minute looking through documents of like Sony ownership of IP and stuff. They weren't doing that yesterday. Metacritic scores, in my opinion, have kind of ruined gaming a little bit. Because every single time there's a game about to come out, and people trying to predict the score, I don't think it's a problem. But it's people only enjoying a game if it has a high score. I think that's a problem. Like, if you only play a game because it scored high on Metacritic, do you have any idea how many games you're missing out on? Because we live in a world where a 10 out of 10 is amazing. A 9 out of 10 is good. An 8 out of 10 8 out of 10s get called mid, right? And a 7 is called trash. I hate that people think like that, right? I play a lot of 8s and a lot of 7s out of 10, and I have a bloody good time. I've been playing a game recently called Outcast: A New Beginning. It got like a 70 on Metacritic or something. I don't care. It's fun. Has a cool story, has interesting characters, and honestly, as a AA game, they're more interesting. Most AA games in general are like rated 70 because I think, places like IGN, they automatically give AA games 70 or 7 out of 10s. My point is, people need to stop running with Metacritic scores and people being so defensive over wanting people wanting this game to come to Xbox. Like, yesterday they were fine with it possibly coming to Xbox, but today they're up in arms just because it's got a high score. It's stupid. Come on, move on. Right, we've still got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Oh my god. You know what? Gamescom is just around the corner. Actually, no. we'll get into the Black Ops stuff first because that's going to be quick. So, Call of Duty Black Ops 7 got announced during the Xbox showcase. Really cool stuff. And the funny thing is, like, a lot of people thought that was not Call of Duty, including myself. I think it was easy to mistake that as a new IP. But either way, I like cool stories. So it did leak several months ago that the new Call of Duty was going to have jetpacks and wall running, which basically made a lot of Call of Duty fans, such as myself, especially someone that's really into Warzone at the minute, really taken back thinking this is going to completely ruin Warzone. Well, it came out the other day that Warzone and Call of Duty this year, there's not going to be wall running at all. There's not going to be any jetpacks. It's going to be an evolution of Omni movement, which we have now. So I think it's just going to be faster movement. So if you're really looking forward to more Call of Duty this year, no jetpacks. Thank God. Right? I've had enough of jetpacks in games. Like, unless I'm getting Call of Duty Infinite Warfare 2, which I doubt it's going to happen because that campaign's amazing. Call of Duty just needs to stick with boots on the ground. It feels like an endless cycle where we have jetpacks, then boots on the ground, then jetpacks, then World War II, then jetpacks. Like, just end it. Like, Logan, I'm guessing you at least happy for the campaign to not have jetpacks and wall running. Okay, I think his microphone's broke or his internet's gone. Yeah, I think Logan's still having issues with his audio. Either way, Call of Duty not having jetpacks, it's unnecessary, really. It feels like time and time again we have jetpacks and people complain, Activision listens, and then we get boots on the ground, and then people praise boots on the ground gameplay. It happens every time. Yeah, jet boots. I think, I do think that, and some people might not like this, I think Call of Duty from now on, they aren't going to deviate from Black Ops or Modern Warfare. I think we will only ever get going forward, and I mean for like the next 10 years, it's going to go Black Ops, Modern Warfare, Black Ops, Modern Warfare. I can't see a new sub-IP coming out of the ground. I can't see Infinite Warfare 2. I can't see an Advanced Warfare 2. It's a bit sad, really, but this, like, Black Ops alone makes so much money just off its name because people like I want to say more adult stories, more the grittier stories. There's more gore in Black Ops. And, the intenseness of Modern Warfare when it comes to stealth missions and, like, sniping and stuff. Like, you're going to have fan bases of either one. I will play both because I'm the sucker for, single-player, first-person shooter campaigns. But jet hands. I don't even know how jet hands would work, but it'd be interesting. Why not? But yeah, we'll move on. Right, so Gamescom is just around the corner, and I have to admit, like, I'm really excited. Now, this year in general, it's been really good for video games. On Xbox, you've had the Developer Direct back in January, which had a shadow drop and a secret announcement with the Ninja Gaiden 2 Black remake, which they did an excellent job with that. And then they had the showcase a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and they had a brilliant time with that because they surprised us multiple times. Not only the third-party shadow drop with Final Fantasy 16, but they announced multiple games that are coming out this year, announced this year, for this year, with, Keeper, Grounded 2, then a few months ago they announced Gears of War Reloaded. So all in all, and we had a Oblivion remake a couple of months ago as well. Like, it's been a good year so far. So, like, when it comes to Gamescom, the question is, like, what's going to be there? And I think if you go into this thinking you're going to get a Xbox Summer Showcase style event, you're going to be disappointed. Gamescom's always a smaller event, but they do usually have some announcements. So for me, and I'm putting on my nerd hat, in previous Gamescoms, it's been a really popular place to debut new RTS games. This is where half of the people listening fall asleep. I like RTS games, but like, that's where they've announced Age of Empires for Xbox, Age of Mythology for Xbox, or if you're Jeff Keighley, you announce Age of Mythology only ever coming to PlayStation on Twitter when it suits him. I 100% think we are going to see StarCraft announced for Xbox at Gamescom. It seems like if you're going to announce StarCraft for Xbox, you kind of have to do it at Gamescom. That's where the RTS audience is. I think a lot of people would be happy with that. And you have nerds like me that will be so excited to play these games on Xbox with a controller. If you can get StarCraft to work on a controller with the Nintendo 64, you bloody can with an Xbox controller. Now, I do think we could possibly see WoW. WoW has been hinted at for Xbox for a while now. You already have controller support for World of Warcraft, so why not put that on Xbox, right? Like, World of Warcraft is still, if I remember correctly, still the number one MMO. So, like, put it on Xbox. There's already big MMOs on console. You have Final Fantasy 14. You have Elder Scrolls Online. You know, now you have New World Eternum. For people that haven't played that, that's a bloody fun MMO. Like, I think now's maybe the time. You know, you don't have to lock things off to keyboard and mouse. I think people will be fine. Yes, it would be hard having hundreds of shortcuts. Oh, here we go. It would be hard having hundreds of shortcuts and, you know, macros for spells and, you know, powers and stuff, but it's going to happen eventually. It may as well. I think that's the only other way you get World of Warcraft to grow even more, because they have like 30 million players or something. Like, you could get easily another, 20 million if you put it on console, because apparently it's really addictive. And, like, I know people that literally, like, stayed in the house for, like, months on end because they got into that game, right? So, like, that game's ruined lives. But I think console gamers would really appreciate, you know, World of Warcraft. Like I said, the StarCraft thing, I 100% think StarCraft is happening. And if Phil Spencer wore a StarCraft t-shirt and nothing happens, that's a bit sus, I'm not going to lie. And if I'm really honest, I've been wanting StarCraft to come to Xbox for years, even before they bought Activision and Blizzard, because that's such a cool universe. If people haven't seen any of the cutscenes or story stuff, go on YouTube. You can watch it all in 4K. But I would just love to play that on console with a controller and enjoy some sci-fi goodness. Now let's see if Logan's back. Again, internet today hasn't exactly been the best. Let's see. They're still having issues. You know what? I'm sure he'll be back next week if he can't get it on by the end of the show. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good time. I do expect we will see updates for games we do know about, such as State of Decay 3. We got a little bit of gameplay last year, and that's it. You also have secondary games, or should I say second-party games, where we've had no update in years. Contraband being one of them by Avalanche. Right? They went on from Just Cause 4 straight onto Contraband, and we've heard nothing since. And I think that it's time. Right? Contraband has had a longer dev cycle than any other Avalanche game. Right? Longer than Just Cause 4, 3, 2, and 1. Like, I think it's time. And, you know, Microsoft, they are also working with other studios. I think there's a studio called Elsewhere Entertainment, which is made up by a bunch of Arkham developers, if I remember correctly. Like, Microsoft's using a lot of their funds working with European developers. I do think it's time that we could see, you know, a bunch of European games. And the thing is, you know, about Xbox going to Gamescom, like I said, it's all about showing updates for existing games. Like Flight Simulator, people may laugh, it is a nerdy game, but you know what? I really enjoy Flight Simulator. We tend to get world updates, and that game's gotten better and better over time. You know, by the way, bit of a, you know, humble brag. I'm one of the 20 best players in the world at Flight Simulator with a controller. Go me, because I'm a nerd. But look, I think Gamescom's going to be fun for people. You know, I think, will Gears of War be out at that point? Yeah, it'll be out. But who knows? I said this earlier today on Boom Show. I think the best thing about Microsoft at the minute, and even they do mess up sometimes, they do step on rakes. I think everyone in the industry knows that they step on rakes a lot. Microsoft has basically surprised us when we've never expected anything, right? Nobody expected Ninja Gaiden earlier this year. Ninja Gaiden 4 didn't even leak. How? How the hell did a Japanese game that someone's been working with Microsoft, not leak? Hell, that's a Platinum game and it didn't leak, right? I was going to say, how did Oblivion not leak? But, how did, Gears of War Reloaded not leak, right? We could possibly see other games, smaller games or remasters by Microsoft. I have gone on the record and said multiple times I do think Fallout 3 Remake does release this year, or at least alongside the TV show. I 100% see that happening. 100%. Microsoft had a lot of success with Fallout 4 after the TV show. And, the Fallout 3 remake was in the documents in the FTC court case stuff. So, that's happening. It's just all about when it's going to happen. But I think it's going to be... Yeah, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black didn't leak either. They've had Keeper. Keeper by Double Fine didn't leak either. Grounded 2. Grounded, for people that don't know, was actually a big success for, Obsidian and Xbox, right? They had a big success. It had a huge following on Twitch and all that stuff. So, them coming out with a sequel, within 3 years? It doesn't feel like it's been that long since that came out, but they are able to keep secrets now. I know some people like to talk about leaks all the time and stuff, because leaks are exciting and all that. But the fact that Microsoft came out this year and surprised us multiple times, that is so refreshing. I don't know if people remember, but if you go back to 2016, their entire E3 leaks. 2017, basically the whole thing leaks. And they had multiple years where just everything was leaking. And thankfully, Microsoft, they can go 5 minutes without leaking stuff now, right? The FTC thing last year, I mean, it is what it is. It happened. That's someone filing the wrong document. Although, how unfortunate is that? If you're that person that filed away that document that leaked basically everything Bethesda's working on. I'd be shocked if that person's still working at Microsoft, because that's a bit of an unfortunate mistake. But, hey, I think Gamescom's going to be fun for people. It is shocking that we still haven't heard anything from EA or Ubisoft. So they are basically the two only companies that won't have had a showcase this year, despite the fact that they both meant to be releasing big games. I have heard that we are meant to see something on Iron Man pretty soon. So, I don't know when that's going to happen. I had a feeling that we would have seen Iron Man at the Xbox showcase. Clearly that didn't bloody happen. But, yeah, that's Gamescom. Should be good. You know what? We'll move on. We still have a bunch of stuff to talk about. You know what? Let's quickly talk about this. So, Xbox, next generation, it's all been up in the air. And, for the longest time, people thought it was going to be 2026. And some people have been against the idea of 2026 because they think that's cutting the generation short. Some people can't wait for the next generation. And it is a weird one. This generation, we started a brand new gen, or getting ready for a new generation, all stuck in the house. Right? We're all stuck in the house during a pandemic. People couldn't leave the house. Hell, you couldn't even buy video games locally where I lived. So, it was a different generation, or a different way to start a generation. And, now it's the complete polar opposite, right? These studios, they have way much more leeway. these hardware manufacturers, they can actually get consoles out in the wild this time now. Because getting consoles, remember what it was like getting a console back in 2020? It was so hard to get a console back then. And, it didn't help that you had scalpers. Oh, by the way, before I continue, I hope Microsoft and Sony did learn from the whole scalping thing, because I used to see pictures of people having like living rooms filled with consoles, right? Filled with Xboxes, filled with PlayStations, like selling these things for thousands and thousands of dollars a pop, just because it was getting close to Christmas and people were getting desperate, right? We don't need that again. Now, I don't know how they did it on Nintendo, but apparently they did handle the scalper thing a lot better. I think if Microsoft this time around, they should maybe lock your sales to, I don't know, maybe you have to have 15,000 gamer score minimum before you can order an Xbox. Something like that. They really need to do something. My God, like, I was lucky to get my Xbox that day, right? For people that don't know, I only mentioned this a while back, I ordered my Xbox literally on my Xbox, because you've got the hardware section now. And I clicked buy, and then nothing happened. And I was like, oh, it didn't go through. I'll try again. And I did this 5 times, and then it eventually worked. I then go check my emails, and I nearly had a bloody heart attack. I had 6 emails from Microsoft saying I ordered 6 Xbox Series X's, and I was like, no way. So I had to cancel 5 of them. And I was like, okay, it's okay, it didn't go through. I'm good. And I got my console. But yeah, that was a worrying time. But yeah, like they need to get something sorted with the whole scalper thing, because that was disgusting. Like, by the way, I don't like it when people do that crap for anything. People did that back for the Wii back in the day. People trying to get a Wii for Christmas. People were marking them up like £500. There's always some big item at Christmas people buy in droves and then try and sell off to people that don't know any better, right? It's disgusting. We see it with consoles. We used to see it with toys back in the early 2000s and 90s, and it's going to continue even more with consoles. But Microsoft, they need to, again, make it 10,000 gamer score, 15,000 gamer score, whatever. I don't care. X amount of years membership with Game or whatever local retail you have. But, yeah. So anyway, why am I talking about this? So the rumors for the longest time were Microsoft were planning to come out in 2026 with a brand new generation. Then people were saying it was going to be 2027 because, this generation's been a bit weird. That first year was kind of boring. Not many cool games were out. And if you look at Microsoft, they didn't really launch a mid-generation refresh. And I said 5 years ago, no one needs a mid-gen refresh this time around. Console prices have gone up this generation. Like, remember back in my day when consoles would go down in price over a generation? That's not the case anymore. Like, consoles are going up in price. Bloody lovely. And, it's came out again that Microsoft are coming out next year with a brand new next-gen console. And if you look at what Phil Spencer said 2 weeks ago, saying that, in 2026, for the 25th anniversary, we're going to see Halo, we're going to see Forza and Gears. And we already know Fable's coming. Could Microsoft be really gearing up to set off next year with a brand new generation of consoles? Because if you go back 5 years ago, Microsoft didn't launch their Xbox Series consoles with any first-party launch software, right? There were no first-party games. Halo got delayed because of the whole Craig thing. Although, I looking back on it, that was so dumb. But as someone that make GIFs, I can tell you that someone literally had to go frame by frame to find that specific image of Craig. Like, mind-blowing, really. But like, I think if Microsoft want to get out next year and have a full launch lineup, which Microsoft haven't had a first party launch lineup in a long time. Back in the Xbox One, they came out with Killer Instinct, Rise Son of Rome, which was made by Crytek, and I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, Forza. I think Microsoft they want to get going straight out the gate this time because Microsoft had the Xbox has no games thing at the beginning of this generation, despite the fact that now that they have more studios and literally more games coming than other publishers combined, right? So I think Microsoft, even though some people might say this generation's been cut short, the truth is generations used to be 4, 5, 6 years. It's only with the 360 generation where the the generations was basically elongated because the economy collapsed back in 2008 2009. So then you had Microsoft come out with the Kinect to extend the life of the 360. You had PlayStation come out with the wand. I think it was called the PlayStation Wand, and like that helped push PlayStation a few years with new types of games and stuff. And you had the Wii basically selling like hotcakes year round. So like this time, I think 6 years isn't that bad. And actually having launch software, and then you have Fable coming out next year. You have them wanting to have backwards compatibility outside of the gate straight away. I think it could be a big success for Microsoft. And the main thing is that it looks like Microsoft wants to get out there a year before Sony. Now, if people can't remember, when they got a year ahead of PlayStation, that was kind of earth-shattering back in the day. 2005? Like, they were a year ahead of Sony. They were significantly cheaper. And look how that generation turned out. By the way, that generation was actually bad and hugely successful for everyone. That generation, the Wii sold like 130 million consoles, but nobody bought third-party software on the machine. So basically, everything became vaporware. You had Sony come out of the gate, super expensive as a Blu-ray player, and not really any interest in first-party software for 3 years. And then you had Microsoft. They had 50% failure rate on their hardware, but thankfully Steve Ballmer was like, pay for the fix, because Peter Moore said how much it was going to cost to fix the problem. And then they fixed it. And then what did they do? They had Xbox Live Arcade. They had a range of first-party games. They had the Call of Duty deal going on. So, like, even though all three consoles had, like, a really big misstep, they all had huge success in the end. Like, this time around, I think Microsoft, they want to go out the gate. I've said out of the gate 30 times today, but just bear with me. I think Microsoft, they just want to start the generation with a first-party roadmap. That's actually interesting. And that's the thing about Microsoft now that I don't think some people realize. Like, Microsoft has a huge roadmap, right, for this year and next year and beyond. They just need the console to go with it. Now, I think the Xbox Series X, it's a phenomenal console. I think, the performance we're getting out of the machine is great. I think the visuals we're getting are great. I still think Hellblade 2 is the best looking game of all time. But, like, it's going to be interesting to see what Microsoft pushes next generation, because people keep saying it's the multi-store thing, having different stores in one box. I don't think that's... I think it's a selling point, but I don't think it's the selling point of a console, right? Every time I post backwards compatible footage, I always get this one particular reply. Nobody buys a console to play old games, right? That's what I get told all the time. I don't think anyone's gonna really buy an expensive like home console to play their PC games, right? I do think as a feature having those stores on your console is gonna be cool if that's the case. Like let's take me for instance, right? I complain on a weekly basis that I have no Star Trek games, right? But if I could buy a bunch of GOG and play them on my Xbox because there's no other way for me to get them on a console, that's super cool. It's a cool feature. But like if they talk about AI enhancement of backwards compatible games, that's a big selling point to me. What are these new games going to be like? What's that selling point going to be like? What's Call of Duty like next generation? We don't know. Apparently DMZ 2 will be out that generation. So I think Microsoft, they clearly have some plans, and we just need to see it. Now, Microsoft, look, everyone here knows that Microsoft, they can have some really good announcements like they've had this year, and they'll step on a rake at some point. Jeff Keighley will post about the people losing the jobs, but he won't post about Sony losing the jobs. So it's a perception versus reality thing. But yeah, screw AI. The thing is, I think AI is a very good tool, but I think it gets misused in a way. Like, if you use an AI to enhance an image of a game you're playing, you're not taking the job away from anyone, But if you're using AI to basically, I don't know, let's say, build towns in an RPG, right? That's taken away from someone's job, right? But I think AI is just a very useful tool, but that's what it needs to be used as, a tool. AI is super cool, but like when I see Mr. Beast out here, bit off topic, but Mr. Beast out here talking about how everyone should be using AI to copy other people's thumbnails. I'm just like, that's messed up. Right? That's super messed up. Like, AI as a tool, fine. But as a replacement for something, bit messy. But hey, next generation is going to be weird. Hell, Microsoft technically hasn't even talked about what their major selling point is next generation, because what was it with the Xbox One and PlayStation 4? 1080p, 60 frames per second. Although, the funny thing is, that generation, there weren't a lot of 60 FPS games by either first party. You had Forza and Gears at that point. The Xbox One X and PlayStation 4 Pro, those were sold as 4K boxes. And the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, what were those sold as? True 4K boxes, it's 60 FPS. Although we do have a bunch of 120 frames per second games. And your 8K televisions. Let me tell you, I've never seen an 8K television in real life. Nobody's even talking about 8K content. Not really many ways to watch 8K content either. I mean, the amount of bandwidth you need to just stream 8K, like, hell, my Netflix goes fuzzy sometimes. Like, I could be posting a video on Twitter, watching Raw on Netflix, and all of a sudden, it looked like I'm watching Raw through a Game Boy. But it'll be interesting to see what they push, because 8K, I can't see it. Maybe path tracing. Path tracing's a bit cool, I guess. But as we learned this generation, ray tracing's cool, but the hit you take on performance, is it really worth your game looking slightly fancy? Honestly, as someone that loved getting into Cyberpunk, thinking, wow, this ray tracing on console's super cool, right? As soon as I turned the ray tracing off and had it on 60 frames per second mode, I was like, no, this is better. I don't need ray tracing, not really. Like, do I need path tracing on a video game? Look, some people might not like what I'm about to say. I play 360 games still, and I don't really complain about what they look like. I think some 360 games still look great. Shout out to the Mass Effect trilogy. Those games still look phenomenal, and I will defend those games. But yeah, I think next generation Microsoft, they just need to come out and just tell us what it's going to be, and it's going to be a while before we see next generation and they even talk about it, because I think Microsoft, as cool as it was to see the Series X announcement at the Game Awards in 2019, like, announcing your console a year before it comes out, I think that's a bad idea. These companies, they know that people are buying that console every single week until the new one is announced, essentially. I think Microsoft should go back to how it used to be, but, that's something we don't have to talk about yet. But it's been an interesting week. It doesn't help that I'm absolutely melting here. So if I've sounded out of breath during this show, I'd like to apologize. I'm trying to talk, write timestamps, keep checking Twitter for messages, and drink in between sentences, because I've went through like 2 glasses of water this show. But yeah. Anyway, Everyone in chat has been amazing. Sorry for the technical difficulties earlier on the show. Logan will be back next week. Everyone has had a bunch of technical issues lately. I don't know what's been going on. Can the heat do anything to do with, disconnecting or whatever? I don't know. And hopefully, by the next show, I can actually get things rearranged and I can actually have this fan turned on while I'm talking to you so I don't get agitated throughout the show. But anyway, everyone in chat, like I said, has been amazing. We'll be back the same time next week. If I can, I want to get the show started maybe 30 minutes earlier. Like I've said, I want to do this green room thing where I maybe talk to people in chat, talk about movies, TV shows, the wrestling. Not going to lie, the wrestling lately has been kind of boring. It's been some cool things with, R-Truth and all that stuff, but wrestling was far more entertaining when I watched it 20 years ago. I don't know what's changed since then. I've only started watching again since January, but whoever's making the matches at WWE, it's the same boring thing every bloody week. You have someone getting injured. You have Penta coming out doing the same match every Raw, every single week. And I feel like, am I taking crazy pills? Is anyone else noticing this? But anyway, that's the kind of stuff I want to talk about. So that's the plan anyway. And then basically, if you watch the show afterwards, I'll cut out the first 30 minutes. So it would start where it would normally start at 6 p.m. Eastern. Just so you don't have to hear me ramble on about wrestling if you don't want to. Because again, I'm just getting into it and it's kind of fun. I'm not going to lie. And, hopefully in the next few days I will have a video out. Hope everyone enjoys it. It's been a while putting together. In fact, if I get my plans sorted, I should have a video out every single week for the next 4 weeks, at least. Fun stuff ahead. Anyway, we're back the same time next week. Video out in the next few days. We are out, everybody. Peace.